Hello, it's Orlando. I'm going to spend time today talking to you about leadership. Most of us spend our time either leading or following. And whether we realize it or not, what we say or do has a profound impact on people. Sometimes we lead unintentionally. Today, I'm going to talk about a principle that I put in place years ago, which I call Ozone Leadership. Ozone Leadership, you may ask, you've never heard of it. But years ago, we were launching a new product, and the drug was not selling according to plan. And as is typical during these circumstances, is that the heat comes down from above. And in nature, we would look at that heat and we would call it the sun. The sun is generating a lot of heat. So what I would say to my folks is that when the heat comes down from above, you cannot let that heat go through unfiltered to your people. Sometimes it's raw, sometimes it's intense. So you have to be the ozone layer for your people to ensure that they get exactly what they need in order to flourish. Now, I must admit that with some people, you would like to have a hole in the ozone layer so that he can get through to those individuals the way it should. But look at it as the ozone layer. And how can we apply that to leadership and other aspects of our lives? In looking at the ozone layer, there are certain attributes of the ozone layer that applies to many things that we do. And then we can also add a leadership portion of it to make it even more powerful to us. So let's look at the ozone layer. One of the attributes of the ozone layer that I think is significant is that the ozone layer is protective. It will ensure that only the right kind of UV light, ultraviolet light, gets through to us. Because the wrong kind would be intense and it would destroy all life as we know it. So the ozone layer is protective of us. So as a leader, how are you being protective of your people? Do they have the kind of environment that will allow them to flourish? Are you creating what I'd like to call an oasis, where it's open and share information safely, where your people can be open and share information safely? Is it a safe environment rather than a toxic environment? What are you doing to protect your people? Now, in a business, there are certain kinds of services and benefits that we provide to help protect our people. But as a rank and file leader, how are you being protective of your people? And a measure of that protectiveness is their ability to come to you and tell you things when things are not going well. Secondly, an aspect of the ozone layer is that it is selective. As I mentioned, only certain forms of UV light are allowed to get through. So selectivity, how is that playing out on your team? Are you ensuring that your team is only working on those things that are mission critical? They're not being sidetracked by every new project or concept or idea that is rolling down the pike. Are you ensuring that they are being very focused on what needs to be done? Because they cannot do everything. And the more focused they are, the more powerful they are. Third aspect of the ozone layer is that it's corrective. Now, years ago, someone noticed that there was a hole in the ozone layer which affects our climate and climate change and things of that sort. So cities and countries got together actually, and they said, what can we do to reduce the level of carbon emissions that we're sending up into the atmosphere so that we can close the ozone layer and pretty much stabilize the climate that we're living in? So how are you being corrective with your people? Are you providing them the proper level of feedback? Do they always know where they stand and how they are performing. As a leader, there are times when we need to be open and we need to be vulnerable and share with our people and our team times when things did not go well for us. Because if they can identify with us, that correction helps them to become better. Do we apologize when we do something wrong? There are times when we've made mistakes, and I've made mistakes, and I've had to go to my people, put my ego at their feet and say, look, I was wrong here. So providing feedback, providing the necessary course correction, that's a very important aspect, a very important component of ozone leadership. The ozone layer is effective. And an example of its effectiveness is the fact that we are still here and we are alive and we are functioning. Because if it wasn't effective, if it wasn't working well for us, things would not be going well for us. So we need to ensure that things are going well so it's effective. And we need to do monitoring to ensure that we're on course. Everything is going according to plan, to keep things, to help everybody gets better. It's not just the organization getting better. Are your people getting better? Are they being more effective on the job? And consequently, when they go home, are they more effective at home because of how things are going on the job? And no leadership model would be effective or worth its salt if it didn't contain the word directive. Do members of your team, your whole team, do they realize your vision? Do they know the destination? Do they know their roles and what the goals are? So as a leadership model, ozone leadership, we want to ensure that we're protective, that we're selective, corrective, effective, and importantly, are we directive? Do we know where we are going? One of the aspects I put in the book, Unlock Your Leadership Greatness, and this book in particular, Unlock the Secrets of Ozone Leadership, is there's a principle in here called the acid rain of negativity. There are times when there are people within our organization that are raining down negative thoughts and ideas that are an impediment, they are a barrier to our effectiveness. And we need to find out where those individuals are, speak to them, and ensure that we can all get on the same page. And we may be doing something wrong, and they were reluctant to tell us, but we need to find out what that is. So leadership, very important, no question about it. We feel that everybody should unlock their leadership greatness and define their inner eagle, that which allows them to soar high, that which allows them to achieve their objectives and to lead those who are watching their movement. We want the leaders to unlock their leadership greatness, as I mentioned earlier in one of my earlier books. So leadership, ozone leadership. What can we do to ensure that we are maximizing those 5 principles: protective, selective, corrective, effective, and directive, to achieve the objectives of the organization and its members? So this is Orlando Caesar, trying to be an effective leader, but willing to pass on what I've learned on my journey. So have a phenomenal day.